This is Alex Madsen of the Divorcees, and you are listening to The Northern Report with Sean Burns.
Well, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, friends. Welcome to The Northern Report. I'm your host, Sean Burns, and I'm coming right at you from Winnipeg, Manitoba, Canada. Here on The Northern Report, I aim to shine a light on emerging and existing Canadian talent, as well as some of the legends we're still lucky to have with us. My guest on today's show is Alex Madsen. For more than 15 years now, Alex has had a hand in the lead vocal and guitar duties in Moncton, New Brunswick-based outfit, The Divorcees. A familiar voice, no doubt, for country music fans, especially if you tune in with me even semi-regularly on Boots and Saddle, as I'm no stranger to spinning a tune from the Divorcees' handsome catalog of outlaw-inspired country music. We stay in touch online, but we haven't crossed paths in person in close to 8 years. It was a great opportunity to catch up with Alex and politely interrogate him about his backstory, the Divorcees' history, and specifically their latest album, Drop of Blood. Thanks for tuning in today, friends. And here's my conversation with Alex Madsen.
Hello.
Hey, man. How's it going?
Not too bad. How you doing, Sean?
Good. This is still a good time to reach you?
Yeah, you got me at a great time.
I guess, man. I mean, we've been keeping in touch and keeping up to date with things online, but I haven't been out there since 2013. I haven't seen you guys in quite a while, so I'm glad to catch up with you today.
Yeah, man. Absolutely.
Shall we dig right in? I've got about,
Let's do it.
40 minutes of interrogation prepared for you.
All right.
So
Sounds good, man.
welcome you to the Northern Report, Alex. And before we dive in to the Divorcees and the history of the band, I'd like it if you could give me and these listeners a chance to get to know you better. Did you grow up there in Moncton?
No, I actually, I'm not 100% New Brunswicker. I was born in the North Shore, which is up in Bay de Chaleur, like Charlotte, Dalhousie. Grew up in St. John and Fredericton. And when I got sick of that place, I ended up moving to Moncton. And of course, I did the obligatory trip to Fort McMurray for about a year or so.
Really?
That's like a rite of passage for all young New Brunswick people. Got to go to Fort Mac for at least a year.
Wow, you were working oil rig stuff up there?
Actually, no. I was back then. I used to work in radio. I used to work in a radio station, so I ended up going out there working for the OK Radio Group.
Wow,
it was pretty. It was okay.
More glamorous than the oil field gig.
Well, it was a wild time because that was back in the early '90s, eh?
Mm-hmm.
So, people still had oil can fever out there. Like it was wild.
Were you
like the Wild West?
Were you catching live acts like at the oil can and stuff?
I was. Oh man, yeah. I went to the oil can all the time.
Still 6 nights a week there with the bands.
6 nights a week, and there were blues bands, and I ended up kind of going in for a jam night, and then they ended up putting me into Moonlight as part of a blues band through the week. So
wow,
yeah, that was pretty fun.
So were you
pay the bills?
Were you playing music growing up? Like, do you come from a musical family at all?
I come from music. Yeah, my mom's side of the family are all flat pickers, like kind of country players. So that was, it was like everybody in the family had a flat top, So it was all sitting around in a big circle playing Merle Haggard and singing songs, and the music was a part of my mom's family big time.
So you're hearing country music when you're growing up? Yeah,
well, at least on my mom's side. On my dad's side, he was more like the folk side. He liked Peter, Paul, and Mary and the Kingston Trio and stuff like that. So that's what was around when I was a kid, was folk music and country music. And then I was kind of in the church as a kid. So I played in a worship team when I was like 12 years old. So it was pretty much I was playing like in a public setting right from the start, right from like 12 years old or so.
Wow, and playing guitar?
And, playing a variety of instruments. I actually played bass on a keytar when I first started out.
Right
Yeah,
on.
it was
Yeah.
wild. It was wild. And then, of course, I begged and pleaded for an acoustic guitar, and I got one. And I ended up kind of playing gospel type music in the church for pretty much my high school years. And coming out of that, I was lucky to kind of that kind of put a like real good, basic, solid rhythm playing under me. And so that, like, it's funny, you'd think that being able to play crazy leads would have gotten you the gig, but it for me, it was having solid rhythm chops. It was just, oh, Alex is a go-to guy. Just put him in the band and he just fills out the sound. Like that was what it was like back then. So it's funny. I do a lot of leads now, but back then I hardly played any. I was a rhythm guitarist
So you
all the way.
understood like the foundation of the sound and of the music and your role in it.
Yeah, well, yeah, it was kind of weird because I was kind of defined by my limitations, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
I remember playing in this one blues band. They had one guitarist on one side of the stage and me on the other. And I basically played the downstroke and he played the upstroke. Like, so, yeah, but it was a really great foundation to build on. You can't overplay when you're in a 12-piece worship team. It's pretty impossible to do that because you're going to be stepping on somebody's toes.
Absolutely. Were you singing at that time as well, or when did you start? When did you
I did.
realize you could sing?
Well, I was in boys' choirs right from the age of about 5. So I sang in choir, and then kind of I'd had piano lessons and music lessons all through my childhood, but then I migrated to the worship team because they kind of noticed that I had the aptitude to remember melodies and just kind of know how things are constructed. So they said, yeah, let's put this guy in the team, and away we went. So I kind of graduated from the choir type stuff to music. But as far as singing goes, I probably didn't really get into the vocal stuff until probably the mid 90s, because I started playing professionally when I was 18, and that would have been like 89, I think. 89, 90. No. Yeah, it would have been in the late 80s that I started kind of gigging.
Still in New Brunswick?
Yeah, and I was what they call a wet dry musician. So I was they call a dry player.
Uh-huh.
So they were like, watching me like a hawk, wouldn't let me near the bar. Had to have a special stamp.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a different time. You could do that stuff, but now you can't do it at all, I don't think. But yeah, so it was pretty neat, but I was just a rhythm guitarist for the first little bit of my career and a little bit of leads, but like hardly ever. And then towards the mid 90s, I got the punk rock bug and went crazy. And so that was, and I did that for a whole bunch of time. Came here to Moncton in the end of the 90s and joined the Great Bouncing Act, which was kind of a jam band. I mean, that was the big thing at the time, and hippie stuff. And but the funny thing is that I was probably I was playing all the same kind of gospel riffs all the way through everything.
Yeah.
It was just, it never really changed. I was just kind of doing all that crazy stuff. Yeah. And yeah.
I've heard that about you before, and I would never have guessed. And some friends of mine from out there in the Maritimes had said, like, oh no, like Alex is like not just a guy in a country band. Like he can play blues and he can play jazz and he's played all this music and he's like a go-to guy in the Maritimes for a little while. And I was like, it's no surprise you're a really talented guy, but I thought, some part of me thought you were like 100% country music only,
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, definitely my heart's in country. Like country music does something for me that other styles of music doesn't. But I still love all that music. Like when I was coming up, I was playing in punk rock and I was playing heavy metal and all sorts of different music and fusion and like all sorts of styles. And I'm definitely a lover of the guitar as an instrument. And I just love exploring whatever I can with it. But when it comes to like my go-to, like nothing beats listening to Honky-Tonk Heroes end to end. You know,
Yeah.
it's just there's something about it, you know, and it's true. Like I definitely, you know, I have a real keen interest in classical composition and jazz, and I like experimental music, and I kind of my tastes widely vary, as do my interests as a technician. Like when I'm trying to play different things, I love all that stuff. But it's funny, you know, even all the guys in the divorcees, you know, like a lot of like Turtle, for example, is an exceptionally gifted player, and has like really broad musical taste as well. And he and I used to play in a band called The Turning back in the day, and it was very kind of experimental, and it explored a lot of different kind of ideas. So that comes to the table with the divorcees. Like Kevin, our drummer, he played in a bunch of rock bands. Haywood, who's back in the band, he's done all sorts of different styles too. And Sean, the guitar player, he played in a band called the Ginger Kings. He's a tremendous blues player. Like Sean is just blazing
Right
blues
on.
player. Like just cuts my head right off. You know, like so we all bring that to the table. But it's funny how we all have this mutual love of country, but our styles and tastes kind of seep into what we do, and so it makes it fun and interesting. And we kind of, you know, if you listen real close, you can hear a couple different little turns on stuff that comes from that, you know.
Yeah. So you come back to New Brunswick, you land back in Moncton, you're playing around town, you have a relationship with Turtle already. So do you guys start the Divorcees? How and when does the band start?
Well, it's an interesting story. So way back in like 2004, Haywood comes to me and says, we need to do a Johnny Cash tribute,
Mm-hmm.
you know, because I think he just passed away and it was a big thing, you know, and we were big Johnny Cash fans. Turtle hadn't quite come along quite yet. We were working with another guy, but very shortly after Turtle came in. And it's really like Haywood and I and Turtle are like the guys that have been there from the start.
Mm-hmm.
In this band currently. And Haywood, like Turtle and I have been the longest standing members, because Haywood went on and kind of went solo for about 12 years, you know, so, and then he came back in. So, but we were doing this Johnny Cash stuff, and we were having a hell of a time. We were loving it. It was just so cool to be able to play. See, you have to remember, back then, it wasn't a thing that you did. Like, you know, I wanted to play country all my life, but never thought I could get away with it, you know?
Yeah.
And honestly, like, it was, you know, like, I'd go and play like a pretty hardcore gig with a punk band. I'd get in my car and I'd be listening to Chad Atkins when I'm driving home. Like, it's just crazy.
Yeah.
You
I know
know
what you mean.
And you know what I mean? You
Yeah.
remember those times? Like, he's like, you listen to Willie Nelson? Like, it wasn't cool back then. Like, you had to you kind of had to keep it on the down low, you know?
Mm-hmm.
It was hilarious. But, you know, we were doing the Johnny Cash stuff and it was really flying good. And Haywood had some stuff written, some country tunes, and so did I. And we kind of just said, man, let's see if we can just do a country gig somewhere. So pre-divorcees, we kind of did a few shows and it really went great. And it just was like the best gigs I'd ever had. You know, like I just felt super comfortable, super happy. You know, just everything that I'd ever done as a musician in my life and my family's history, it all just kind of seemed to settle in to what we were doing. And I got to play music that I love playing. Like, I remember we played the Attic in Nova Scotia. And I remember the first time we played Mama Tried. And I remember looking at Haywood and just thinking to myself, this is like, I've been waiting my entire career to do this. Like I'm just so happy that I could play that way. And so it's magical.
Yeah, I often think the same thing. Like it's a pleasure to be able to play this music, and maybe people will like it. And you know, at least if we can do a good enough job on it, they might not hate it. If I'm gonna play,
Exactly.
if
Well,
I'm gonna play.
we were scared shitless, Sean. We were so scared because we were on stage. We were, we had that new band smell all the way. You know what I'm saying? So we're walking on stage and we're looking at each other and we're going, we're going to be playing like, Luther Perkins country. Like, we're not talking about the country that they're playing at the dive bar down the street. We're talking about like, because those guys are playing like whatever that stuff is on the radio, and we're like, this ain't on the radio, and we were terrified. We were like, these people are gonna run us out of town. Like, and we when we walked in that bar, it was empty. When we walked back out of our green room, the bar was standing room only, and we were like, here we go. And we launched into like Get Rhythm or something like that, and I mean the place lit up. I mean, it might as well have been a country show, punk show, and there were metalheads, punks, rockers.
Yeah, there's always that crossover from the punks and some of the metal guys that kind of are always sympathetic to the attitude of Johnny Cash or Hank Williams or Merle Haggard. It's nice when you get that all in the same room.
Oh man, it was fantastic. We had dads and sons arm in arm, singing word for word, and we were all like, hey, when I just looked at each other, it was like, we were worried that it was not going to go over well, and it was exactly the opposite.
What year is this?
And we were just thrilled. Oh man, like 2005, 2004, like way back.
And that's like right around the time that Shooter Jennings is sort of making a name for himself as an artist. And are you guys taking cues from Shooter and Waylon and Willie? It seems like, your first record comes out in 2006 and it's sort of picking up on what they're dropping down.
Not so much, because that was a little bit after we started. Like we really just happened into it, like, because we were doing the Johnny Cash tribute and having a blast, and we didn't want it to end. We knew that the tribute to Johnny was going to be kind of a window of time. So we didn't expect anything permanent. And, we just, as that started to kind of wind down, we were like, oh man, well, we don't want to stop. So we basically built into the show. And Haywood was doing a solo thing, and the band was originally called Jason Haywood and the Divorcees. And one day we just ended up playing a show, and Haywood looked on stage and said, what if I took my name off this? And we're like, all right. He got on the mic, we're the Divorcees. And that was it.
Were you guys like doing the full tribute, like dress up as Johnny Cash, pretend to be Johnny Cash, or are you just like, here's a country music band playing Johnny Cash songs?
Haywood would kind of suit up and slick the hair back a bit and maybe go up on stage wearing black and wearing Ray-Bans kind of deal. So that was, we reasonable facsimile, but we weren't like hardcore trying to, hi, I'm Johnny Cash kind of. It was more of a, let's look like we're kind of Tennessee 3 type of people, Mm-hmm. So we would suit up, and I had a big 10-gallon hat that I'd wear and a Western suit and all this crazy stuff. It was pretty fun.
Were you singing songs, or are you just being Luther?
Just Luther with harmonies. Kind of a mix between Luther and Carl.
Yeah.
minus the ridiculous toupee.
So for about 10 years, I guess, and maybe a little bit more, late 90s into the early 2000s, it seemed like the roots country scene was really thriving in Western Canada. What was the landscape like out there for you guys? Like you were finding enough work within, the area, going to Nova Scotia or PEI as well. Like there was places for you guys to play and a culture and community surrounding the country music.
Well, there always was. See, Moncton's an Acadian French type of community, right? And Acadians are steeped in country, and not only country, but like bluegrass country. Like you get the Cajun kind of music mixed in with kind of this, like the Cajun music, Acadian music's almost bluegrass, like French bluegrass, basically. Then you got bluegrass, and then it's, Acadians love George Jones, so that's around here, that's a big deal, right? And, Johnny Cash and all the real old time country, that's real big in New Brunswick, eh? So
right. It's
always been a thing here. And, but it's weird. It's, when we were coming in, all the country bars had kind of closed down, but the Western scene had not hit here. Not much. In Halifax, it was a bit folky with like the Guthries and stuff, but there wasn't a lot of there wasn't a whole lot of like real country type stuff. Like we were pretty standalone. There was Ryan Cook. He was doing some stuff.
Oh yeah, he's still at it. He does the Hank thing, right?
Oh yeah, and he does a mean buck. Like,
really?
He does great. Oh yeah, yeah. He's a great guy, great singer, great writer. You know, all around. But there was a lot of like a more of an Americana kind of thing, but it definitely leaned more towards folky or singer songwriter. But there wasn't like country. Like not a lot of that going on. Like only in the older community. So you'd see these variety shows that would come up at like a Lions Club or something, but it'd be people in their late 50s, early 60s, even 70s doing like, you know, Kitty Wells and stuff like that. And I was on those bills all the time. I'd get called up and do those.
In the band?
They were a blast. No, just me. I'd get called up and go and do them. But Haywood did a few of them too. And that's kind of a maritime thing. You see like family bands, like they'll come up and sing like, you know, all that great old stuff, you know, and it's not so much outlaw country. It'd be more like traditional jukebox stuff. So like Hank Snow and that kind of thing.
You guys release your first record, You Ain't Getting My Country, in 2006. Are you and Jason both bringing songs to the table? Are you guys writing as a band? How did that look?
2006 record, it was largely Haywood and I writing. And sometimes he would write one completely on his own. So would I. And sometimes we'd co-write. But I would say it was about 50-50, him and me. And then we would bring a mostly fleshed together tune, at least like basics. Mm-hmm. We'd bring it into the band, and then that would go through the meat grinder, and we would just flesh it all out. Everyone would put their stamp on it, and you know, make it a Divorcees tune. Were
you guys playing often locally in those days?
Yeah, we were gigging pretty hard up until like the Four Chapters era. We were gigging pretty good.
So when did you first leave the Maritimes and head west? Was it on the back of that first record?
First album, yeah. And Haywood ended up leaving just before, so it ended up like he ended up heading out, and I ended up taking a whole slot on, and we traveled the first tour as a 3-piece.
Wow. So you guys have like a whole run booked in Western Canada, which for the people that don't live in Canada, like the American artists who tour, they go, you know, 90 minutes, 2 hours down the road every day. For you guys in Moncton, you're like a 48-hour drive to me here in Winnipeg. You know, it's like you're way east. So you're heading all the way to Alberta, I guess.
All the way out, yeah.
And Jason splits, leaves the band right before you guys head out, and you just I guess we got to go do this.
We got to go do it.
And you are the default lead singer.
I was not a lead singer until that moment, and then suddenly I'm a lead singer.
Wow.
You know, and I just bit down and went for it. Yeah, it was like the most exciting / terrifying tour of my life.
and did it go well though?
It was chaotic. I thought it went pretty good. We came home stronger. Like we came home, like, you know, especially Turtle and I, we came home going, no matter, you know, it kind of set the baseline. Like it was like, if we can handle this, we can handle anything.
Right.
You know, and that was basically, you know, that tour is what kind of galvanized the real personality of the band. Was galvanized through that tour. It was a seminal tour for that. Like we came out of it going, get whatever you got to throw at us, fine. And that's why we're still here today.
Yeah, you can form a really strong bond when you're up against it like that with people, you know?
Felt like being in the trenches or something.
Yeah.
It was a crazy experience. But, you know, we came out of it feeling good and inspired to write another album, and we went right back to work for the second record.
And that's Last of the Three Men comes out in 2009.
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay, and I guess, did you write all those tunes, or is that a collaborative thing happening?
Yes, that one would be more me. That album is largely me. And what was the other one? Yeah, like, except for, I think, well, we covered an AC/DC song before it became cool. we didn't realize that it was going to turn into a big thing, and ended up becoming and like bluegrass bands, and everybody was covering. But yeah, we just we were doing it at our shows, and it was such a big hit that we gave it a try and had a lot of fun with it. So
did that record like kind of put you guys on the map nationally even more than the first record in the first run?
It definitely built on it.
Yeah.
Because we had some songs on there that made it into some films, and people were pretty happy with us. By that point, we had really kind of, we toured pretty hard, and so it really kind of built. And so yeah, and we got a lot of, like, that album stood the test of time. We still play those songs at every show, and a lot of them, and we get a lot of feedback from people. A lot of fan favorites are from that record.
Were you guys touring out west, like just for release tours, or were you kind of making a point to go out there a couple times a year?
Well, we couldn't really afford to do anything more than like maybe one big trip,
Mm-hmm.
and if we were lucky, we might get a second one, because when you're from the East Coast, everything's far away.
Yeah.
So, so
Yeah.
we did what we could with what we had, and kept trying to travel out, and the way touring was happening by that point, like 2009, 2010, was changing really quick and getting really hard to maintain.
Yeah, there was like I said, a good sort of 10 years there where it seemed like you could go, even someone from the East Coast could go out to Alberta and make money.
Yeah.
Like you guys, there was places that are long since gone that were probably, really great spots in those days that even I missed, because I didn't start going out till 2010.
Yeah, like by the 2010 point into now, we were not going as far out as way west. Maybe we'd hit the 401, figure eight it back. Like we were still managing to hit some good spots. But by every time we go out, it'd be few less bars, like they were just shutting down left and right.
Where were you guys doing especially well, like outside of the Maritimes? Was there any spots you really liked playing, or that, you really kind of rang the bell as far as turnout?
Yeah, well, there was a place out in Calgary called the Bar Named Sue. I used to answer the phone. Bar Named Sue, how do you do? Yeah. It was great. Oh, we had the most fun we partially remember at the Bar Named Sue.
Everyone tells me that. I just missed it.
Woo. It was a wild run. Yeah, we used to play there. We played lots of places in Calgary and Edmonton, like the Black Dog, the Railway out in Vancouver. Let me see, the Elmdale Tavern in Ottawa. That was a fun spot.
I loved that
great
room.
Place. The bartender says, like, big bleeping beer, small little glass.
Yeah. Yeah, they had the quarts. They had the quarts of Molson
the
X.
Big quart bottles.
Yeah.
I remember the bartender looking at me and said, "You ever drank this way before, son?" I was like, "I don't know if I have." He's like, "Well, just pace yourself." And okay.
Yeah.
It was a wild time, but Elmdale's gone now.
Yeah, it's sad. That was a great old
Townhouse
place.
And all those places that far out in Regina there, the Peterborough, Toucan, all those places. We played all the hot spots, and out west though, there's a place called Cactus Annie's that we used to play out in Merritt, BC. We used to get these package shows out there. What a wild place that was.
I don't know that one.
Lots of fun. Yeah, Merritt Mountain. You had a real neat mix of townies, choppers, truckers, riggers, rodeo guys. It was a wild ride.
Yeah, they got the cowboy culture there big time, and it's not far from Kamloops. Cool. Yeah. It's nice. I love it out there too, man. And you also are not too far from the north. Like, you get the cowboy stuff in Fort St. John and Prince George and stuff, and it's only a few hours up the road.
Oh, yeah. Merritt was a beautiful town. It reminded me kind of like a small New Brunswick town, so we felt comfortable there, and people were really nice to us. And it was one of the last places you could play those package shows. You could get a 4 or 5 nighter and play every night and just play country all night long,
Man,
that's an awesome experience.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Well, we did it in a few places, like the Stetson out in Calgary, where they still had a smoking section in a big glass box. It's like,
is that the one that's the motel, like down the road from the Ranchmans?
Yeah, and let me tell you, that was a country crowd. That was the old holdout right there.
Oh,
and Ranchmans had nothing on those guys.
That must have been awesome.
You could go in there it was pretty cool, you know, and they had the old pint glasses, and it was just a wild ride. And oh, there's so many cool bars like that out there. Like, but you know, they're all kind of going to the wayside. There's not many of them left.
No, it's getting harder and harder. That's for sure.
Yeah, I think it's going to change. I think these old hotels are going to get bought up, and we're going to see a resurgence of the hotel saloon, which I think will be really great, because then you don't have to stumble anywhere except
go upstairs
to your room.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I think those days are going to come back, but it's going to take a while, especially with COVID, of course, you know.
Yeah. Hey there again, folks. As we approach the halfway point of today's episode, I'd like to thank you once again for tuning in. You're listening to the Northern Report podcast. I'm your host, Sean Burns. Our guest today is Alex Madsen. I'll remind you to follow the Northern Report podcast and playlist on Spotify. Subscribe on Apple and Google Podcasts. Listen on YouTube, our anchor.fm page, or wherever you find your podcasts. In the first section of today's episode, we covered Alex's formative years, the formation of the Divorcees, and their early approach to recording and touring. It's no secret that I hold the group's 2012 record 4 Chapters in the highest of regards, and though I'm sure he's heard me mention it on the air or online before, I felt I needed to express my affection for the record to Alex properly. We'll jump into that next and continue down the path covering the Divorcees' journey in country music. I need to bring up 4 Chapters because I have said on multiple occasions on Boots and Saddle that I believe 4 Chapters to be the finest country music record to come out of Canada in the second decade of the century. And I'll admit, I listened to that album so many fucking times in 2012 when I was on the road. And in 2012, I did St. John's to Tofino. Like I was going hard.
Wow.
And I listened to that album like crazy. I was actually listening to it again today before I called you. I remember I first met you guys at Plan B in Moncton, summer of 2011. You guys just happened to be there, and we ended up at someone's house, little after show.
Probably drinking whiskey.
Yeah, and trading songs and shit like that. And what I remember is you guys had told me about 4 Chapters and played some early mixes, and had talked about how Tim Huss was hired to sort of be the narrator and introduce these new themes. And I thought, and I still think, that it was a really great idea that was like brilliantly executed. How did all that play out? And did it just happen that these songs fit into the sections, or were you consciously writing them as chapters?
Initially, there was a handful of them that were independently written, but as I was writing, I quickly realized that I was kind of being very thematic with what I was doing. And I'd say when I hit about the halfway point, I was like, I've got a concept. And it was not something I was planning on doing. It's just something I recognized. And I was like, okay, I need to take a look at this, you know? And then I was telling Turtle like how I wanted to, you know, how I always felt that it would be really great to do one of those double gatefold Outlaw concept records, you know, like our heroes did. And luckily for me, you know, Turtle's got that mind for that, right? Like he's very, very much in keeping with that kind of mentality. And he likes to, Turtle, like me, he likes to dream big. And I kind of explained it to him. It's, you know, what if we, like I was telling him about Red-Headed Stranger and how there was like a booklet in it and there was illustrations and stories. I said, what if we did that? Wouldn't that be amazing? And luckily for me, you know, Turtle really ran with it. And it said, let's do it. And I will say, like, that album, it's 100% Turtle's debut as a producer. And like, a lot of people know Turtle as a very gifted bass player, of course. But what a lot of people should know about him is that he's an exceptional producer. He's like, that album is definitely Turtle, like in terms of how it all came together. So
I definitely got that sense, and he was really excited about it. I remember, and so you guys obviously had a relationship with Tim Huss from him touring so hard, and you guys going out. So how did it come about? You're like, we got to do these segues, and Tim is gonna narrate them.
Well, Tim would come down east, and we would do shows together, and he would play certain gigs and stuff, and he'd call me up, and I joined him for a couple of them, and we'd struck a friendship up right from the first tour. All of us. And so we're all good friends with him. I call him a brother from another mother, so he's a great guy, and, just salt of the earth, but also super literate, natural born storyteller. And, just still waters run deep, with a guy like that. And when we were looking at people to narrate it, he was top of the list. It was like, can you imagine if Tim Huss did this? And at first, I think we thought it wasn't going to be possible. But Turtle's the kind of guy that if he thinks it's even remotely possible, he's going to chase it down.
Right.
And he did. He made it happen. And I was like, I can't believe this is happening. Like, this is crazy. Oh, yeah.
It must have been so exthing. Like the first time you hear Tim reading this narration, like over top of the music. I went right through the roof. I mean, I couldn't believe it. I was just, oh my God, that is amazing. It's like I dreamt it and it's real. Yeah.
It's just fantastic.
There was definitely, as far as I could tell, like a genuine excitement from you guys, and I could see you were really excited, and proud of what you were going to release. Did you think we really got something great here?
Yes. Yeah. We felt like we had our asses kicked for years and years, and that album was a result of our asses getting kicked, and we came out of it kind of looking at it and going, okay, well, you know what, it's a kind of a song, it's kind of a thematic album about going out west, chasing it down, getting your ass kicked and coming home, right? And it's semi-autobiographical for sure, and when we completed that album and we were able to communicate it the way we did and get the sound effects in there and have the transitions and the artwork, it was just magical. Like everything came together almost exactly the way we wanted. And I gotta say it again, I really credit Turtle for that, because I had come to him on a very conceptual level and said, I always wanted to do something like this. Here's my songs. Here's what I'm thinking. Can we flesh these out? Can we make them more musical, add more parts? Can Turtle come in here and you kind of help me with some of these melodies and work some of these parts out? And then we kind of, on that record, it was definitely me and Turtle for the largest part of it, because the band had been in transition at that time as well. So we kind of really knuckled down because it was up to him and I. So we wrote a lot of the material, but where we differed was I had more of an artistic vision in terms of like the artwork and what I wanted it to look like, and conceptually what I wanted it to feel like. And then Turtle was coming in more like a producer side and saying, well, this is how we're going to make it happen. And here's how we're going to get these parts to work. And he got in really tight with Danny Bourgeois, who engineered it with us, and they really finessed it. It was an amazing, luck and perseverance is what made that album happen, full tilt.
And comes out in 2012. You hit the road. You head west for a little run that takes you, I think, as far as Dauphin, Manitoba. Is that right?
Yeah. Yep. We got out to Winnipeg.
Yeah.
And once you hit Winnipeg, it's like you start to realize you got to go from Winnipeg to Moncton. So,
So that was as far as you went, and you guys head home, and we haven't seen you out here since then.
No, we haven't been back. We'd love to go. That's for sure. Just
logistics and the amount of time it takes to get out west is probably the reason for that.
Yeah, and it just gets tougher and tougher for New Brunswick bands to tour in the West. Like, it's not so bad if you're from, say, Ontario to the West. It's not as bad, but if you're from New Brunswick, your overhead is so high that by the time you get out west and back, if you don't have like really heavy duty anchor dates, you're you're coming home empty handed or even worse.
And yeah, that's
so
damn near impossible in going through Ontario and stuff. It's tough to make a respectable amount of money outside of a festival in Ontario. And so yeah, and again, some perspective for the people that are going to listen is like, so you're 48 hours from Winnipeg, and then we're another 24 hours to Vancouver.
Exactly.
So, I mean, yeah, it's a huge commitment financially and as far as your time is concerned. So I guess you end up going home, and the band's still active. You're still going at it. 2016 sees the release of From Labor to Refreshment, which is really a nice, solid, blue-collar country music, like barroom country release, maybe a little bit more raw than Four Chapters.
Yeah, well, I think it really, the Four Chapters album experience was definitely a vision that was centered towards what like Turtle appreciates, like with big production value and a lot of movement and flavors and a lot of stuff going on. And From Labor to Refreshment was definitely, I think, more of a nod towards what I'm about.
Right.
So I'm kind of nitty gritty, and I tend to I'm like a Stompin' Tom kind of approach. And we had an opportunity to record at a place called MRC Studios in Memramcook, which was an analog studio, Studer tape deck style, right?
Oh, cool.
And Turtle came to me, and this time around, it was Turtle that came to me and said, I think we should record here. And I think we should try and go for this kind of analog approach. And I think if I remember it correctly, but we had done this really big kind of concept album. And I think it was, okay, we've done that. Maybe we need to take a different trajectory on the next one. So we pivoted and went for more like an analog, raw kind of sound.
Yeah.
And that's where From Labor to Refreshment came from.
So were you writing the songs for that knowing that you were going to be going in with a bit more of an organic feel to the recording, or were these the songs that you had?
Well, I always kind of try to road test stuff before I even remotely get into a studio situation. At least back then I did. I would kind of sit on songs for months and months and months before I'd even bring them into the guys and say, okay, what do you think of this? And then kind of put it through the meat grinder and really revisit them and rework them. And with From Labor to Refreshment, there's a simplicity to the songs that they're not as progressive as, say, like Four Chapters is, for example. Like they're more straightforward. So I remember just, kind of just jamming them out a lot with the guys and getting them so that they just sit comfortable and had a nice pocket. And that was kind of where we were with that.
Yeah, it's a really nice feeling record. Like Four Chapters demands your attention in a different way because you're being led on this journey, this story. And then, Labor to Refreshment is like, it's like a really nice country music record you can just put on a few times and then certain things catch your ear. But I think those are important. And I think it's cool that you guys.
It's a honky-tonk record.
Yeah. And you make the shift from
basically.
So, go ahead. No.
Oh no, yeah, no, that's kind of it. It's a very honky-tonky kind of record and lots of fun. It was kind of, we'd had this big, serious, epic album with that 2012 record. And then when we kind of did From Labor to Refreshment, I think it was, I was kind of, what if we just kind of put it as a straight up honky-tonk kind of,
Yeah.
And it, I think everyone kind of felt that it was a good direction. But when Turtle came to me with that suggestion about MRC Studios and saying, hey, these guys have got some really nice gear, like this is a good spot, it made sense to make that kind of record in that kind of studio.
Yeah, absolutely. It's like it's a little more playful melodically. Like, I think of a song like "Crowded Shed" or something like that. You know,
Yeah.
it's like it's a really nice record. And so you as you mentioned, you and Turtle are the constants in the group. There's changes on the drum chair and other guitar players. Fast forward a little bit, and Jason returns to the fold. Tell me about how and when that happened and what that was like, because I imagine there would have been some internal excitement, and then from your longtime fans, they must have been excited as well.
Oh, big time. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, before Haywood was coming in, we've been kind of doing the same old for a while, and we needed a real shot in the arm. I mean, 15-year-old band, you know, it was, we needed something to kind of put a little jump in our step there. And luckily for us, people think that Haywood just left and we were, see you later, buddy, or whatever, but we'd actually continued to work with him on solo stuff. I was playing guitar with him on all sorts of shows, and Gerald would come in and play bass for him and all that. So we remained friends, and all of us have been kind of in each other's camps over the years. And so I had gone to Campobello Island to do a gig called Fogfest with them, and I was playing guitar with them, and they actually let me do a little set of my own, and it turns out Haywood's wife's out in the crowd, and she's just listening to us play, and she comes with me after, and she's like, I don't know why you guys aren't working together. You guys should be working together. And I just kind of left a kind of a thought in my head about it. And then maybe a few months later, we were playing at this tattoo expo. And again, him and I got called up to do it. And we were playing Buck Owens, all his favorite stuff. And at the time, things had kind of slowed down for the band. We weren't really doing as much as we normally do. And it needed a shot in the arm. And I just looked at Haywood there and said, have you remember when your wife was talking about that stuff? And it just turned into a conversation. And then before you knew it, it just kind of expanded into the band. I don't know who started what or who said what or how it all kind of came about, but it was just kind of seemed to like naturally occur. But for me, it seems like that real spark started when Haywood's wife was kind of like, why aren't you guys doing this? Like, well, yeah.
Yeah, I wrote about in the Honky-Tonk Times that there's like listening to the record Drop of Blood, you feel a sense of like of someone's coming home, and you feel a sense of excitement amongst the group, and it's like welcome back, and here's what we've got now after all these years of Jason being gone, and it's received really positive reviews. When did you begin working on the record, and was it back to the same old thing, like you're each bringing songs in and working them out together?
Yeah, pretty much. What ended up happening was Haywood came in, and he'd had I think he had some songs probably that he was like, oh, this would make a great divorcee song, and probably just never used it,
Mm-hmm.
And then so a couple of them came into the fold, and I had written some stuff since From Labor to Refreshment, and I'd been kind of working them, and so when he came back in, I just kind of started letting my material out. He started putting in some stuff, and then we co-wrote a few of them. And I mean, in no time at all, we probably had, we had a pile of songs that we could go through and pick from. It didn't take long because we were pretty inspired when he came back in. It was for a couple of reasons too. You've got Sean, who's just this exquisite electric guitarist, and real chord master. Like, he's got good sense of ambient sounds, and he's a very melodic player. And so suddenly, he's in there with an SG and a Strat, and he's come up with real cool sounds. I'm on my telly on the other side, a little more open to do B-bender stuff and fun experimental things country-wise. And then you've got Haywood, who has this kind of hammer of the gods strumming style there. Like, he hits, he's just an old boom-a-chick, a flat top player, right? And so all of a sudden the sound just opens up, and everybody's looking at each other like, now we can really get into it. So we really dug in and started. It didn't take long. It was very inspiring, but to have Sean on the other side, throwing out riffs and stuff. So, double lead breaks and everything.
Yeah.
Great.
That's thoughtful. The arrangements are thoughtful, and the songs are really strong. Where did you guys make the record, and when did you record it?
We did it over the summer. Started in the end of August, and then it stretched into September. Uh, and really, just dug deep. Uh, you know, got through every challenge you could get through. Uh, you know, uh, Studio time is never an easy experience. That it shouldn't be. And we are we're very strong-willed people, and if we're independent individually, we'll fight for what we believe in, and so that can create it creates a forger's fire, like I guess you could say. It's like a real, you make diamonds from pressure. You know what I mean?
Yeah. That's
And
good.
so it's the whole idea. But we, we fight a little bit, but we love each other too. So it's never too bad. It doesn't get out of control or anything like that. But like, I remember thinking just how we had to like just really head down, go to work. We were on a tight time frame for the original tracking part of it, and then after the fact, we kind of just started doing some different work independently to fill in some holes and certain things and with the session guys. But tremendous experience, like intense, but like very rewarding on the back end. When we listened back, we were like, it was worth it.
Where did you guys make it? It looked like you were like at a cabin or something like that.
Yeah, Haywood's mother has a cottage out in Rexton, which is off the water in New Brunswick, and we all piled into this cottage and just wired it up, and away we went. And we brought in Dwayne Kelly, who does sound for Matt Anderson.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, and he came in, and we just knuckled down and got it done.
I like making records like that as well, man. We did that one time where we were out at a cabin for like 7 days. You just kind of live in there. You're working together. That's all. There's no distractions from being in town or anything like that. And it's fond memories when you're kind of in that, in the trenches, like we said before, with your people. You guys typically make your own records, like bring in an engineer and you kind of keep it internal, self-produce?
Yes. Yeah. Like I said earlier, Turtle's got a real gift for production.
Mm-hmm.
And so he definitely knows. He's got a sense of what needs to get done and when. Keeps things on track. He's got great ears. If he thinks a melody can be tweaked, he's going to suggest it. And can hear if there's, he's got a real great sense of timing and melody and tuning and all the things that you really need to have to make sure an album shines, that works well. And in his case, that's been a huge benefit to us. Like, it's it's weird to think, like, when we first started out, there was no real indication to start out that he had that innate ability. But I'd say by the second record and then going into the third, that's when we were like, whoa, he's got some skills here. Like, and so that's where, that's definitely why the third album, 4 Chapters, was what it was, and now with this album here, we see, like, when you have someone like that who can do that kind of stuff, and then you've got someone like Kevin who's really good at engineering, and I've got production ability as well. It just, you get this feeling that, like, well, why would we want to bring someone else without any backstory into that and try to make it, like, it feels like you're almost taking a chance, like you're just, it's kind of roulette. You're like, well, maybe we'll luck out, maybe we won't. And when we know what we want. And so we've always tried to work locally as much as possible. And we've always tried to use a lion's share of musicians here from the province. Robbie Kroll, he's from Nashville, but he's originally from around here. So, he played all the keys on the Lice record. Killer player.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
But yeah, and Coco on steel,
mm-hmm.
Dale Murray, those kinds of guys. Like, try to stay Eastern Seaboard if we can, but also, like, if we can get New Brunswickers, we do. Um, yeah, and we've always been kind of very centered towards that.
Are there
You know,
some songs or moments on Drop of Blood that you're particularly proud of?
for me,
Yeah.
probably the lead break, the leads that I did in a few of the tunes I'm just like a total sucker for. In Must Be Nice,
Yeah.
the double lead breaks. Like, I don't know, I uh, I always want to do some of that really crazy Merle Haggard, like 190 proof era kind of lead stuff, and I really wanted that on this record, and I managed to pull it in that Must Be Nice break with a weird bends and the kind of this double lead break, but it's really unorthodox. It's a real strangers kind of vibe, you know?
Absolutely. And has it been an adjustment, or has it must feel a little bit refreshing now that you're back to splitting the lead vocal duties, and sometimes you can just be the guitar player?
Yeah, it's a big relief. It makes life easier for me, and I get to sit in the pocket a bit more.
Yeah.
It can be really hard to, uh, if you're the lead guitarist, rhythm guitarist, singer, and then you've got Sean on an acoustic, you're wearing a lot of hats, and it's when you've got two electrics and then another singer, you're all of a sudden like, you've got like you can have a couple windows of time where it's like you're really sitting in the song and you can just really focus on those parts. It makes it a real pleasure to play that way.
I bet. And
your brain's not your brain's not split in two different directions.
Mm-hmm. And it's great. You guys have like really different sounding voices, and it's complementary to the sound. It's nice. It's kind of it's not something you hear all the time. He's like second lead vocalist on the record.
Yeah, it's a lucky break, I'm gonna go the other way here. I'm out for my daily walk, but it seems like I'm walking into every construction zone in Moncton right now.
Yeah.
It's like, what the heck, man? Yeah, like Haywood and I always like to sing like Everly Brothers stuff and
Oh, cool.
and jukebox stuff. So the harmonies come from that, and I kind of cut my teeth harmonizing with him on his own solo stuff before we even formed the Divorcees, because I was playing with him on his solo stuff before the Divorcees even formed. So, it was really fun kind of learning how to harmonize that way with him.
Right.
And yeah, so and now it's just like, it's, not even a second thought to it. It's just like almost muscle memory to harmonize. So
you guys have always, the records seem to be always consistently well received. And I know that you guys have won some hardware, some East Coast Music Awards. And I love that I can't seem to find online when or how many that you've won. I think that's pretty great. You guys are humble.
We've got a couple of ECMAs, and we've got a couple of Music New Brunswick Awards. I think maybe 2 or 3. Yeah, we're not against awards or anything like that, but I guess it almost like we're almost kind of bashful about it. If you ask any of the guys in the band, we're all kind of like, yeah, well, yeah, I mean, we got a couple here. Yeah, we just gotta let people know. Oh, yeah, that's right. We did win that.
Yeah, it looks good on a press release, but you don't need to brag to your pals.
Well, I remember when we won the first one, and that was a huge thing for us because we were like the little band that could,
Yeah.
So it was pretty cool to think that we got a bit of recognition from our peers there. And it's like, hey, we can do this. All right. So it was a pretty cool feeling. Kind of like, hey, this paid off.
After the amount of consistent success and positive response, do you guys feel pressure, like expectations on yourselves to deliver something, when you go in to make a new record, or are you just going in and making a record because you're a band?
Kind of neither of the two, really. We're really about being as authentic as we can be. That's the biggest thing with us is right from the start, right from the first record, we were like, let's just be ourselves. Let's do what we do because we love doing it. Like we have a blast. I mean, we hang out in the studio, and laugh and carry on, and tell the absolute dirtiest jokes that any human should be allowed to hear. Like we have a great time, and we drink beers and talk about new artists or talk about our favorite songs. And we're 5 guys that enjoy each other's company. We're all best friends, and we're a part of each other's lives, and it extends out into our families. we're we're basically brothers, best friends, and we happen to get to make music together. So when we make an album, we honor it. We don't we don't mess around. Like we're like, hey, we're really lucky to do this. Like we're super lucky that we get along this good and that we can write music together. And we all love Waylon. Like how often do you find that? Like
Yeah.
five guys that love Waylon, love Willie, love Johnny and Merle and George, and know exactly what they want, and are comfortable enough to share it with their buds and go, hey, let's write one that's like real kind of Texas swing kind of tune. Oh yeah, all right. Like I remember bringing in "Spend My Pay" on the previous record, and I was like, you know, showing it to my wife and saying, oh man, this is like a song about a guy coming home and he can't wait to take his wife out dancing, and because he's been out working on the rigs, and she's like, oh, it's going to be great. What do you think the guys are going to think? And I remember thinking to myself, I think the guys are going to really dig it. I think they're going to really have fun. And there was never a doubt in my mind. And then we would get down on the rehearsals, and I remember thinking to myself, well, they've never really done this kind of swing kind of stuff. The minute I showed it to them, they were like, what a great groove. This is a great rhythm. And then let's flesh it out. Let's make it happen. Oh man, this has got some real danceability to it. Let's speed it up a little bit. Turns into this really cool Texas swing number. And I just remember thinking, I was like, how awesome is this? Like I brought this in, and without a worry in the world, it just turned into almost exactly what I heard in my head. And I didn't have to tell them how to do it. I didn't have to, they were just being themselves and made the song happen.
That's so great. Yeah, you get this sense.
Really cool,
Yeah, I get the sense from listening, especially to the latest one here, that like that's what's going on. There's a bond and a brotherhood, and your respect for the country music and being able to play it is. I mean, I admire that. I like I said earlier, like I feel the same way sometimes when I get to play those songs and try to write music in that style. Who are some other acts out there today that you're especially enjoying?
Well, I know that you mentioned Shooter Jennings. I'm a big fan because as a producer, I think he's a real Renaissance man, and the whole band has a real appreciation for Shooter. We all love Sturgill Simpson, and that he's been a big shot in the arm for us. Kind of made us feel relevant and made us feel like, hey, we're okay. A couple of our guys are into. What's the guy that sings White House Road? What's his name? Red-haired fella.
Oh,
really great singer.
Tyler
Childers.
Yes.
Yeah. So, the boys are really into Tyler Childers. Kevin's a huge fan, our drummer. He just loves Tyler Childers. And, there's bluegrass guys and the Punch Brothers and all that kind of fun stuff. Sean is a big Americana guy, as is Haywood. And I'm kind of a little more set in my ways. I still seem to kind of go back to my Willie records and Don Williams albums and all that fun stuff.
Are you a Willie or Waylon if you have to choose one?
Oof. Well, the answer to that is you can't have a glass of milk without an Oreo cookie. So.
I've asked a few guys that question, and they're all kind of like, well, Willie, it's like I'll use the Waylon groove, but I like the Willie song. But I think I like your answer a little bit better. What's on deck for you guys now? I mean, I know I guess you guys did like a theater show to release the record. Things are a lot different out there than they are in the rest of the country.
Slow.
Eh?
It's slow on the Eastern Seaboard, but we think a bubble might open up between provinces and allow us to kind of play around. But a lot of festivals are still pretty scared, don't want to really kick in. So we're kind of in the holding pattern. Like, are we going to have any shows? Like it still looks like it might be next year before anything happens, So we did do a big launch and that went really well. And we're releasing videos all the time. Like we've got one out just now for Must Be Nice.
Oh, cool.
And I got my janitor coveralls on. I'm front and center in the camera. It's pretty fun. You get to look at my face for way too much time. And but it's fun. But that album, that single is released now. So by the time people hear this, it will be out and playing. And so definitely check it out. Turtle was a big driver behind that video as well, actually. and Kevin's daughter, Harmony, who is going to school for video editing and content creation. So we were just really lucked out having her to be able to help us with this. And then Turtle just saw an opportunity and said, "Hey, I'm going to make a video here. Let's make this happen."
Cool.
And then they had the bright idea of putting me in front of the
camera. Any chance or any plans, goals to tour west of the Maritimes maybe next year on the back of this record?
I would really like to, and I think the guys do too. We weren't as able to do it for the longest time. Largely, we had member changes and things like that. And then, of course, just the time of life that we were in, some of us with kids and so on. Now we have a little bit more of a flexibility, I think, to do it. And so I think there's never been a better chance of it happening, not in my opinion. I wish I could say guarantee it 100% we're going. But I know that like when we talk about it, it's like, man, we really got to go out west. We got to do it again.
Yeah.
I know Turtle and I talk about it all the time, and he's like, man, we got to get back out there. Like, it's been too long. And I totally agree with him. It's like, it has been. We need to get out there somehow.
It's tough. It's the same thing. Like I said earlier, it's like I haven't been out there in 8 years, and it's for similar reasons. It's really far. It's a yeah. tough haul up here for a touring band in Canada. Hey, thanks very much for taking the time to talk to me today. Congratulations on the record. I think it's really, really strong, and I hope that you guys are proud.
Oh, we're really happy with it. We're really happy with it, and I think the thing I'm happiest about is how many people have reached out to us, just for the simple fact that we put a record out, but also to really, I felt like I've always felt this kind of sense of people being really happy to hear records from us in the past, but this time I felt like a sense of gratitude from people that I never felt before. And I find that really like it's pretty awesome to feel that. Like, it's like, I mean, I've gotten a couple texts from people saying, "Hey, I really had nothing to look forward to. So thank you for, thank you for putting this record out and giving me something awesome to take my mind off things with, And I really relate, and I'm just so glad that people can reach out to us that way.
Yeah, and you guys, it's well deserved and well earned. You guys kind of been consistently working hard, and it shows on the records.
Oh, thanks, man. And I got to tell you, and I got to tell the listening public too, you have like the best country show in Canada, hands down.
Thank you very much.
Hands down. I listen every week without fail.
Thank you.
Oh yeah,
I appreciate that.
Absolutely.
I spend a lot of time.
I know you notice it. I share it to people. I said, this guy knows country, man. Like, and like. Not all of them do.
It's true.
It's like,
it's true. It's important.
Some of them are like, not so much, man. But you get into some old school shit. Like I'm just like, like you're the only dude I've ever seen that play three Red Sovine songs in a row. Like, I'm like, holy! It's like it's the Red Sovine show. Tuning into this.
Thanks so much, man. I really appreciate you taking the time to talk to me today. It's great to catch up with you.
Yeah, man, anytime. We'll see you on the old internet.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll be in touch.
All right, buddy.
Have a good day, man. Thanks a lot.
Later on.
Bye. Well, friends, I hope you enjoyed my chat with Alex Madsen. I'll thank him again for taking the time to shoot the breeze with me and fill us in on the group's 15-plus year history. Listen to the Divorcees albums wherever you stream music for a nominal monthly fee, or check them out at thedivorcees.ca. Follow along with the Northern Report Spotify playlist to hear music from the folks that I've covered in the Honky-Tonk Times column, as well as here on the podcast. Remember to subscribe, like, follow, and share the Northern Report. Our logo was created by Boots Graham of Boots and the Hoots, Central Alberta's finest honky-tonkers. Music on the show today, courtesy of Sean Burns and Lost Country, The Divorcees, and Skinny Dick. From local legends to regional stars to the cream of the Canadian crop. You'll find it all here on the Northern Report. Thanks for tuning in, folks. We'll chat later.
Hey.
Hey, bud, you got anything good for me?
Yeah, I really had a ball last night.